Morning, everybody. Welcome to Left to Center, Belgium's #1 rated podcast.
Is that really going to be our ongoing?
Why not? It's fact. I mean, you could just make shit up nowadays. So
we haven't even heard from anybody from Belgium. But welcome.
But you know
everybody.
what? That doesn't matter
Season 2,
anymore.
Episode 2. It doesn't matter.
Facts don't
matter.
You could just say anything.
The truth doesn't matter.
You could just say anything you want. Like I was talking
and
about
not go to jail.
I was talking about this yesterday. How dumb I am.
How dumb you are.
$5 for you to point out where Belgium is on a map, Dad.
Oh, I'm ready.
I can find it.
I got it immediately.
I got a C+ in geometry.
I'm
so.
good at
geometry.
Yeah. Wow.
In geometry, right? No, I got a D+ in geometry.
Don't say that.
No, going back to how dumb I am. Okay.
Yeah. You just said you got a D+ in geometry.
This is my favorite conversation.
No, I'm going back how stupid I am as a politician.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so on the night when I lost to Congressman Frank Mervan, okay? One of the toughest nights of my life. Is hopefully the biggest professional setback I'll ever have in my life, right?
Yes.
And then when I knew I knew probably 6:30 we were gonna lose because we got the early results back, and I believe a lot in the early results. I believe they're a fortune teller of the final results. Don't you, Kevin?
I would say 9 times out of 10 they tell you where things are going.
It's like the best poll you could ever conduct because it's literally a sampling of thousands of voters scattered across the district, right?
Yep.
So when you get that back, it's better than any poll that you paid for because it's literally a random sampling of voters. So not very often that the early vote comes back and the final tally differs much from the early vote. And it didn't in this case either, really, right, Kev? It was pretty consistent with the final result.
Yep.
So when the early vote came out, I knew I was in trouble. Kevin was nice, trying to be optimistic, but I knew as soon as I heard, I was like, okay, this is going to be a bad night. So anyway, I was getting myself ready for a couple hours, making sure that what I thought was going to happen actually did happen. All right. And it did. And I was sitting there at I want to say it's 8:30, 9 o'clock. And it was important for me to do one thing. I wanted to call Frank Mervan and congratulate him. Okay. I've been involved in a lot of races, and I've won every race I was in up until that time. And I never had anybody call and congratulate me. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So
I remember you asking me, is it time to call?
And you said yes.
I said, yeah, it's time to call.
So I went off, and I called, and Frank Mervan was a gentleman, and I was doing my best to be a gentleman. And the call didn't last, I don't know if it was more than 2 minutes, to be honest with
Those usually
you.
don't last very long.
Oh, I was devastated.
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah.
But, little did I know, I could just make shit up and say, no, I actually won. That sorry, Frank, I'm going to file lawsuits. This is fake. That there's another 2,500 votes out there that aren't counted. This was rigged against me from the get-go. I didn't realize those were options at the time.
Porter County is full of fraud.
Yeah.
LaPorte County is...
Well, I actually won out there. So Lake County was full of fraud, right? I actually won Porter and LaPorte County. So I didn't realize these options existed.
See what you missed out on?
I was dumb. I should have just
riled everybody up. Maybe we should have got on the lawn at the courthouse in Crown Point
and storm
and told people
and loot.
It's combat time
and smash the doors down and
it's
rifle
combat
through.
Time. Go up to Crown Point.
You see me sitting at Sheriff Oscar Martinez's desk with my feet on his desk, right?
I'll tell you, Mayor. I know you're making light of this, but it's crazy. I mean, the words that come to my mind were shameful and disgraceful and sickening. I mean, it was weird. I had a weird reaction to when I saw these people, I don't know what you want to call them, citizens of the United States, sitting in the Senate's seat, grappling down the Senate chamber, a chamber that we can't walk in, one of the most
Nancy
sacred
Pelosi's
places.
Office.
Yeah.
Stealing their mail,
ripping the parliamentarians. I mean, breaking windows at the Capitol and hopping in through the windows.
Well, what you would hear from the riot is, that was a peaceful protest.
Well, you know what? And by the way, I have no objection to the rally in the Ellipse. Have at it.
Right.
That's fine. If you and I said what the president said or what Rudy Giuliani said, we'd be sitting in jail right now.
Kevin?
Without a doubt.
They did. The president, I don't know if I listened to the speeches because it was definitely shouting fire in a theater.
Without a doubt.
So
Which is
I don't
when
know.
you say that because as a lawyer, what you mean is you lose your First Amendment right.
Absolutely. And the president, I looked at him more like he was trying to be like a general of a mob. And I thought it was funny that he was behind bulletproof glass because if you're so brave, you're so gangster, but hey, don't shoot me, even though you guys love me, right? But
we love you.
What Rudy Giuliani said was insightful.
Yeah, absolutely.
What Donald Trump Jr. said was insightful.
Absolutely.
They should be arrested.
I hope that the downside for them is that I believe the FBI and the Department of Justice always should work independently of the executive branch. I believe they are, and they should look into it. I don't care if it's the Trump administration,
4 people
DOJ.
died.
4 people died. I mean, it's funny. I was talking to Steve about this yesterday, and Steve's like, my law partner, Steve, and he said, obviously I didn't practice much criminal law, but I remember this. What happens when you rob a bank, but your other bank robber gets murdered by the gets killed by the police? What is it? It's called felony murder.
Exactly. Or if you're sitting in the car and shooting goes down on the inside, and I'm the getaway driver, I get charged for murder.
That's right.
That's right.
It's called felony murder.
That's
Guess
right.
what? Insurrection
so
and
funny
sedition
is
murder.
Because I was saying the same
felony.
thing. I was saying the same thing in Gary yesterday.
Were you? Yeah. Well,
absolutely. I was like,
true.
it doesn't matter if you're the driver in the car and you had nothing to do with it. Like Trump was the driver in the car. He told them what to do, and then he went to the White House and sat back in glee. Yeah. Didn't call out the National Guard. He wanted Congress to get thrashed. He wanted them to get in there and probably steal the electors' votes. Well,
it's funny. I heard two things I want to say. Number one, it's also a conspiracy. Conspirators can sit at the old at the safe house.
That's right.
And you can still be part of the conspiracy.
You could draw up the plans and then go back to the safe
and
house.
Say, go rob that bank.
That's right.
But you're sitting at the safe house.
And
Guess
I'm
what?
at the safe house, and then the shooting goes down. I get charged for murder.
You're the co-conspirator.
That's right.
We learned that in law school too.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to say is it was interesting. I was listening to Senator Klobuchar last night. And she said, because they were like, God, Senator Klobuchar, thank you so much for being so brave. And she interrupted. She said, wait a minute. I want you to remember how many staffers were brave. There were staffers in the Senate that grabbed the ballot boxes, which would have been destroyed.
I know.
Think about that.
Yeah,
destroyed the ballot boxes
so
with
sad.
the elector. It's unbelievable.
It's like a banana republic.
I had that in my notes.
This is totally. It was totally, seen. We all knew it was going to happen. I mean, this was leading up. I didn't know they were going to storm the Capitol and break things, but you knew some type of violence was going to occur.
When you have countries like Iran, Russia, China, I think John even mentioned yesterday the president of Colombia were saying like what a disaster this was for democracy. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. We usually say to other countries that election has to stand. It was the people's voice, the vote. That's what people are saying about our election.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's crazy. And the other thing I saw that I was just absolutely disgraced with was people running with the Confederate flag through the U.S. Capitol. Now think about this. That Capitol was being built when the Union was being threatened. Right in the Civil War.
Yep.
And could you imagine all the Union soldiers that died in the Civil War, and these people are bringing the Confederate flag into the U.S. Capitol? Yeah. It is a effing disgrace.
Right. Well, we weren't even supposed to start this early.
Oh, sorry, Lindsay.
What happened this week?
You guys skipped over my part.
We got riled up.
What happened last week is a tragedy for our country. I think all of us Americans could agree on that. And a lot of stuff has happened locally as a result of that. A lot of stuff has happened this week in general. This is probably one of the weeks I'll never forget as mayor. I literally had
I think as an American, you had huge things in your office.
And Hammond was on fire this week. As far as thank God, not literally, but on fire, things happening that are out of the ordinary. Right?
You know what, Mayor? Let me let's let Lindsay introduce some things. I know you've got a big announcement after 8:00.
Yeah.
And
it's a historical announcement for the city of Hammond.
Very exciting.
Yeah. So hang out. We didn't want to do it right at the very beginning. We have a couple things, business we got to knock off. I imagine right around 8:00 we'll make the big announcement. So please hang on. And if you know somebody that wants to listen, it's a big announcement in regards to the Hammond Police Department. So
all right, Lindsay.
15 minutes and counting.
Here we go. Countdown.
You are listening to Left of Center, where we cover everything from politics to important events of the day in the Midwest and the nation, all while having way too much fun while doing it. And if you can't get enough of us, follow us on Facebook at Left of Center Podcast or on Twitter at LockPod, LOCPOD. If you can't listen in live, download our episodes from the Apple Podcast or Spotify app and enjoy your show at a crystal clear 613 kilohertz per second. Just search Left of Center and look for our red and blue logo. Don't forget, you can also subscribe on the Apple and Spotify app, as well as rate our podcasts, which definitely gets us a lot of attention. So please do that if you haven't done so already. Also,
even a thumbs down works.
No. Any kind of engagement is good engagement to
even
me.
A 4-star rating like the mayor did for our podcast.
Right. It doesn't matter. Just give us bad reviews.
Right away.
Just review us.
Comment on John.
Reviews are good.
Laura, get on and comment about John.
Yeah.
Cranky comments, positive comments, just random comments gets us views. Just comment.
Yes.
But also, we also have sponsorship packages that you guys can purchase for ad space on our podcast. You are welcome to do so by contacting us at leftofcenterpod@gmail.com, and I will get that process started for you. Thanks.
Thanks,
All
Linz.
You're welcome.
We're gonna go all the way through our ads today and just knock them off right now,
And then keep talking.
so that we could talk the rest.
You're
of the
putting
show.
the pressure on.
No, I just, you know what? This is a big show, and I know there's a lot of people listening, and a lot of people want to hear the historical announcement we're going to make about the City of Hammond's Police Department, and I want to give it, but we have to go through some business matters first, and instead of like sandwiching the show like we usually do, we're going to go through.
I know I'm more. I want to talk about Trump some more.
No, we got to talk about this country and,
Yeah.
locally, things I've had to do, like the FOP president
you got
yesterday.
to talk about that.
I mean, my chief of police resigned,
You got
retired.
stuff going on.
As chief on Monday, been a crazy week. So let's go ahead and start off with Metropolitan Steel. It's a proud union contractor and AISC advanced certified erector with over 60 years of combined experience serving the Chicagoland area. All of Metropolitan Steel's work is performed to exact project specifications, engineered procedures, and code requirements. For more information, call us at 708-474-2072. That's 708-474-2072.
I love it when sponsors come back, and here's one that we love, of course. Shoop's Hamburgers. Fresh, never frozen, handcrafted, and cooked to crispy perfection. A Shoop's hamburger spills out of the bun. Throw in an order of fries, a shake, and a bowl of homemade super chili, and it's no wonder that the Calumet region and all of Chicagoland have been eating Shoop's for generations. Located at 7235 Indianapolis Boulevard, right off of 8094, or call for carryout at 219-845-7090.
I like Vera's version better, Kevin.
It's no problem. By the way, I was in California. I got off the plane. Matt took us to In-N-Out Burger, which is one of my faves. But you know what? I said, Shoop's still beats it.
Really?
Shoop's
Nice.
beats it.
I've never been to In-N-Out.
Shoop's beats it.
Nice. And by the way, Shoop's soup is very good also.
Homemade.
Yep.
Every day.
Joey Lax Salinas Photography. After the year 2020-2021 school year, high school in Hammond will look much different. To preserve what we know and recognize as our high schools today, Joey Lax Salinas, a Gavitt graduate, has captured photos of all four of Hammond's public high schools and put those albums on public display. Viewing is free. However, photos and keepsakes can be purchased. Visit GavittHighSchool.com to see photos of Gavitt, or visit HammondHighSchools.com to view all of the Hammond high schools before they become part of history. Joey's Gavitt Gallery also includes a 20-minute video walking tour of the high school.
Latitude Commercial is a full-service commercial real estate brokerage and property management firm specializing in northern Indiana and the Chicago suburbs. Local tenants and national developers have benefited from Latitude's experience in the commercial real estate market. When you select Latitude Commercial, you get Chicagoland expertise with worldwide marketing and networking ability. Whether you're a developer looking to sell, a tenant looking to expand, an investor looking to purchase, or an owner in need of property management services, Latitude can help. Contact Latitude at 219-864-0200 or at Latitude Co. That's latitudeco.com so they can get to work for you.
Misprint Printing. With both Munster and Hammond locations, Rick Baldensberger and his team are there for absolutely all of your printing needs. He's responsive, he's fast, and he's good. Banners and signs of all sizes, from wrapping cars to business cards. No job is too big or too small. Call Rick or Teresa at 219-836-2517. That's 219-836-2517.
Midwest Air Duct Cleaning. Are your allergies going crazy during quarantine? Is your heater just not as effective this winter as it was last year? Your air ducts may need a cleaning then. For quality and affordable air duct cleaning, contact Marinco at 219-671-8868 or at MidwestAirDuctCleaning.com for an estimate. Mention Left of Center for a 10% discount. They also have discounts for seniors, first responders, and veterans. And before I forget, Merry Christmas to our Orthodox friends.
Merry Christmas.
Like Marinco.
Like Vera Maluznik.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Vera.
Hey, funny enough, not funny enough, we were just talking about felony murder and the felony murder rule and what we remember from law school about conspiracies and that result in deaths. Like if I was a getaway driver and a shootout occurred with my compadres on the inside, when they come back out to the car,
I like
we all
that,
get
compadres.
my
Is that
compadres.
what you would call your?
Yeah.
All right, compadres.
Yeah, my co-conspirators. How about that? Well, anyway, an article just came across my iPad from CNN. It says federal murder investigation to be opened in Capitol Police officer's death. Prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office plan to open a federal murder investigation into the death of Officer Sicknick, a U.S. Capitol Police officer who died Thursday night, law enforcement officials tell CNN.
And let's not forget, you could be charged with felony murder for the death of that woman that was killed.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
it's like
yeah,
if the
there's
police,
4 deaths.
It's like if in a bank robbery, if the police shoot your compadre, that is also
Your co-conspirator,
a
your
bank
compadre.
robber, you can get charged with felony murder.
Yeah,
because
absolutely. And 4 people died.
And the way that works is bank robbery is a felony. Therefore, that's the felony, and a murder happened in the perpetration of the felony. You get charged with felony murder.
Hey, John, could you pull up Donald Trump Jr.'s speech in the mall that day? Can you pull that up? I want to see what I remember. His and Giuliani's were both
real bad.
They were edgy.
Yeah.
They were literally. They didn't say trash the Capitol, but they were like
combat time. I
don't think the president's is nearly as bad. And I'm not excusing the president's behavior at all. I think the president's deserves to be removed from office after what happened. Yeah. That's how I feel.
He should resign.
By the way, this is coming from a person that was calling for censure during the whole investigation into the Ukraine deal. I was one of the reasonable Democrats. But like when you lead an insurrection and attack a co-equal branch of government, which is what happened. Okay, he led a mob. He directed a mob. He's the president of the United States.
He knew what he was doing.
He said, "Go down there and let them know what you think," and they did. And
you said you have to win by strength.
Yeah,
you have to win by strength.
You can't be weak.
Right.
What's that? You got it, John?
I have a 7-minute thing here.
We don't want that.
Yeah. We'll see how much
watch
of
the
it.
entire
Here's
thing.
the other thing I wanted to mention. We talked about felonies. Insurrection's a felony. It's codified in 18 USC 2383. And I just want to read a little bit of it. I printed it out from Black's Law Dictionary today. A rebellion or rising of citizens or subjects in resistance to their government. Insurrection consists in any combined resistance to the lawful authority of the state with the intent to cause denial thereof. Congress was in session. That's what people have to remember. This isn't just like it was midnight at the Capitol.
The entire Congress.
Right. Senate, House.
Yeah.
And by the way, certifying an election, a statutory obligation of the Congress.
A constitutional obligation.
I think you're right. A constitutional obligation to certify the election with the electorate.
This is like democracy at its most basic core.
There you go. And especially the American model.
Right.
Right?
We've been doing this for hundreds of years.
I think that's the thing. When you democracy is not something you can like touch or feel, right? It's not like this coffee cup. It's an ideal. And when you start chinking away at it by things like we're going to go into the Capitol and rip it apart, it's chinking away at democracy. Mm-hmm. And that's what we forget. It's not something you can put your hands on. And it's so important to remember that this was the seat. I mean, I think I'm not sure who called it Citadel of Democracy. I think Biden called it. It's the beacon of our democratic model, and they tried to destroy it.
That's what people, when they picture democracy around the world, they picture the U.S. Capitol. They don't picture the White House. They picture the U.S. Capitol.
I agree with you. And why do you think that state capitals are modeled after that? Right.
That's right.
I mean, you've said that. I've heard you say that before. And think about 9/11. Remember how all of us said, "Oh my God, they're gonna blow up the Capitol. They're gonna put a plane in the Capitol."
They were trying to.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they?
Right.
Because that's. I mean, in a way, I don't want to necessarily give the two the same type of shrift here, but in a way, that's what they were trying to do. They're trying to put a plane through the Capitol on the other day.
And this is a weird thing for me, is my whole career, I've known Mike Pence since he became governor. Mm-hmm. I didn't know him as a congressman, but when he became Indiana's governor, I knew him. We worked together for 4 years while he was governor and I was mayor.
Worked together loosely, I think.
We worked alongside each other in Indiana. How about that?
We've got to clarify.
I think worked against you,
He didn't like me. He didn't like me. Is that fair to say?
You didn't like him
You yelled
either.
at each other frequently.
Yes.
Well, he just ignored what the Republican supermajority does in Indiana to Democrats is they just ignore you. That's what they do.
They have the ability to if they want to. Yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely.
They're like,
some are better than others.
Hey, hey, governor. This is a phone call I made to the governor. Hey, governor. We got a riot in Hammond. I need help. And he's like, okay, I'll get back to you after I pray on it. That, and like, he never got back to us, right? And we just didn't have a great relationship. I thought he was the worst governor I've seen in my lifetime. I did. And his career was going nowhere when he was picked up.
He was going to lose.
He was definitely going to lose. I had him fire Mike Pence along with tens of thousands of other Hoosiers had fire Mike Pence signs in their yard. Everybody, Republican and Democrat, was sick of him. And Donald Trump saved his career.
Yep.
And
that's what we thought.
Well,
I don't know where he's going to go after this.
He was going nowhere in Indiana.
Right.
So like the guy's he's got a future now, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So he goes to Washington, D.C. for 4 years and carries Donald Trump's water, right?
About as about as big of a sycophant as you could have. I mean, he was loyal to Donald Trump to a fault.
Sycophant, or was he just abused? Like it
Oh,
was
good
sort of
question.
It was like an abusive relationship, really. Donald Trump treated him totally with disrespect. I'm not a big fan of Mike.
Right.
I felt bad for him a lot of times.
Yeah.
Because he would just get pummeled by Donald Trump, and there was talk about Donald Trump not being loyal to him.
Well,
during this last
they wanted
election.
him because he's a very conservative Christian. He's got the evangelicals, right? And so that was like, let's get him because he'll bring the evangelicals.
Right,
in.
but like
Good
even
for Trump.
like during this last election, there was talk about Nikki Haley
Absolutely,
being the vice president, right?
Think about that.
Yeah, and
as
you-
vice president, you'd be like, what the?
Right, I've done a good job.
I've been
been
loyal.
loyal to you. I've been beat up for you.
Yeah.
I take all the arrows and slings for you.
Without a doubt he
And now
does.
you're talking about Nikki Haley, and you know Donald Trump was
Yeah.
talking about that.
Of course.
And there was some serious discussion, and they
Sure.
decided to stick with Mike.
Sure.
Out of loyalty. You know, as loyal as Donald Trump
Surprising.
could be. Right? So anyway, it was weird for me when I saw Donald Trump turn on the vice president this week.
I actually felt bad for him.
I did too.
I was like, and I was actually, you know, when I'm worried about the security of Mike Pence I was worried that these guys would go after Mike Pence.
Right.
For not doing what Trump
he
wanted
couldn't
him to do.
What he
couldn't do.
Right. Like
No power to do it.
Donald Trump is like, I want you to ruin your career right now
Yeah.
for me because, you know, of my ridiculously long shot bid to maintain my presidency. I want you, Vice President Pence, who's done everything I've asked you to do loyally
Without a
for 4
doubt.
years, to go out there and ruin your career for me.
And then he gets on Twitter and throws him under the bus.
Yeah.
You know, and I this is what I would say. You know, I think that to me just shows once again how this president he has no loyalty to anybody but himself.
He doesn't even
To
care about
anyone
his
but
family.
himself.
His family, he ruined his
without a
family.
doubt. Without a doubt.
His
Then-
son wants to run for president
That's not. I mean,
and had a platform.
good luck.
He's dead politically. Like they alienated my dad the other day, Kevin, who's a big R.
Yeah.
And a Donald Trump fan. I called him up on that day and I was like, what's your thoughts right now? He's like, this guy ruined his career. He was talking about the president. He's like, I cannot believe it. He only cares about himself. This is my dad
Yeah.
saying this.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never support this guy again. I can't believe what's going on. My dad's an American. He's a Reagan Democrat and he wanted to throw up just like all of us.
Reagan Republican, right?
Excuse me, a Reagan Republican.
Yeah.
He wanted to throw up.
Speaking of dads, I talked to my dad yesterday, and he, you know, my dad's a great guy, usually very calm. I said, and he doesn't get involved in politics, right? Yesterday, I said, what's up, Dad? He said, I wanted to call you and let you know I've emailed Hawley's office and Braun's office. I told Hawley to get that smirk off his face, and he's lucky he's still got the hand that has that fist that was rising up against. I was like, Dad, are you all right? And he's like,
Good.
I was riled up. I've never done that before, Kevin. And I
about it.
emailed these guys. I
Your dad's whole life, he's never seen our nation under attack.
Oh, he's a veteran too, just like you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think these are the things.
I didn't
that
realize your father was a veteran.
Yeah.
What was
US,
he in?
U.S. Army.
Good for him, man. Was it
whatever,
Nam?
1960? No, it was before. Bay of Pigs, like before Bay of Pigs.
Really?
Yeah, but he didn't have to go. But I'm just saying, is that
So
that
he
era.
joined though. He didn't get.
Yeah, oh
drafted?
yeah, Hammond Tech graduate,
him, man.
1960.
Good for him.
And off to the
Not
U.S.
that
Army.
getting drafted is any different.
No, he didn't get drafted.
Usually
He
getting
signed
drafted
up.
is worse because you get the worst positions if you got drafted.
But I'm just saying it. I mean, you're a veteran. You even mentioned this, Mayor, yesterday. As a veteran, it's just crazy. And I think the one thing that I would say to like our Republican friends is take back your party. Just get rid of this guy. Just take it back because there are so many people
It's not
I
good
respect.
for America what's going on.
You know, we've got John. I respect John's viewpoint a lot, and
I do too.
and it's not. This is like, look, let's get back to running the government. Let's just say this was a bad 4 years, and let's put it aside.
We could
and
do
move
that.
on.
We could do that.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
It was refreshing to hear Mike Pence get back and say, "You didn't win.
Yeah,
you didn't win."
I agree.
And it was good
it's
to
hard
hear
to. And I'm like,
Mitch McConnell
Yeah.
say this election wasn't even close.
right.
You know, those are things that I wish we could have been dealing with
Well,
last couple years.
I think there's a lot of regret on the Republican side about the rhetoric
Well, I
that
hope
is
so.
amped up over ridiculous, false claims. And
Yeah.
by the way, speaking of false, ridiculous claims, we'll hit that after we talk about the police department. But one last note before, one of the fatalities in the Capitol riot was a Air Force veteran, the young lady that was shot.
That's right.
A veteran of the United States Air Force, based out of San Diego. She was there as part of the rally. I mean,
That's got to get looked at just like the death of the officer. I mean, and the question is going to be what happened? Why weren't the police in riot gear?
Honestly, if let's say you were in that crowd,
Yep.
well, let's say it was it was Democrats rioting, and we were in a crowd of Democrats. once you start forcibly entering a building, you have to understand that that's part of the game. You could be shot. It's not unreasonable that she was shot. It really isn't.
You don't have to go back too far to the summer when the president was bringing out federal troops to Portland because the federal building was under siege.
And if you popped yourself through a window, you could have been shot.
I would have no objection.
Right.
I was just as like, what the heck is going on? You can't go after federal buildings.
I agree.
You can't go after seats of government.
I agree. So, the fact that she was shot and it was horrifying and she got shot in the throat, from what I understand, and died pretty much instantly.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible, but no offense to the former, United States Air Force veteran, she should have known better. And unfortunately, she passed, and fortunately, it wasn't a lot of other people who got shot.
That is unbelievable that there was only one shooting at that place. I know 3 other people died medically, but once you start, like you said, once you start going into a building, it's all a federal building, the Capitol, all bets are off.
Yep.
Would anybody have said like, oh my God, they shouldn't have shot people? And just I can't wait for the investigation. Well, I probably can, but the fact is that the fact that the Capitol Police were overrun and weren't prepared. That's going to be crazy. I don't know if you heard the Maryland governor, a Republican governor, was called by Steny Hoyer. You've been in Steny Hoyer's office. And Steny Hoyer called him, huddled up, and said, we can't get a hold of any federal law enforcement officers. You got to send the Maryland National Guard. He calls the Department of Defense, can't get an answer.
Yeah.
And that's where, 3 Republican governors have called for Trump to resign. So, I mean.
That's a whole separate issue, 25th Amendment. And,
yeah.
But we're not here to talk about this all day long,
I
because
agree.
we could talk about this for an hour and a half, and I don't think that's what people want to hear. We all are shocked and horrified and sad, and it was a bad week in the United States of America. It's a historically bad week.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to end up back on this topic anyway.
Well, we probably will, Linz, because I imagine the constitutional crisis is only going to continue until this guy leaves office.
This scenario is definitely going to have waves that affect this country for a long time.
Well,
I hope we heal from it.
I do too.
I heard somebody say it's either is it the death throes or the birth pangs of something, and that's a good question. I think that's a valid question, and I hope it's the death throes of something. We move on from it, and maybe it was an event where people that voted for Donald Trump are now saying, what was I doing? Maybe I need to rethink this. Let's get the Republican Party back to where it should be.
Not my job, but that's people on the right's job.
Yep.
But we have 200 plus people watching the live broadcast right now, and they're not here to talk about what's going on in America, I'd imagine.
I know, a lot of good comments.
Hey, any comments you want to bring out, John, or any guesses about, I know I've read some guesses about what our announcement was.
I'm having a conversation with a couple of people from California about what the best burger is.
Well, In-N-Out reminds me of Five Guys. That's what I would compare In-N-Out to.
I love Five Guys.
Judy is shocked.
I like Shoes better.
Judy is shocked that you've lived almost your entire life in California and never had In-N-Out.
It is shocking.
By the way, I lived the first 18 years of my life in California.
Oh, yeah, 18 years. Sorry.
Okay.
I was implying that you were much younger than you actually are.
No, but I made most of my life.
Next time we go,
I've lived
we're
in Hammond,
getting an
Indiana.
In-N-Out burger.
My majority of my life I spent in Hammond, which is...
Without a doubt.
Yeah, and I still have tons of friends and family, including Judy from California, but... Yeah, In-N-Out was not a thing when I lived there. It was Carl's Jr. and fast food.
I saw some Carl's Jr. when I was out there.
When I was a kid, but In-N-Out took over.
Jack in the Box.
I still have never been to In-N-Out.
We're going to get one.
I hear that's good.
It's good, but Shoop's is better.
Yeah.
Oh, Culver's is the best.
All right, let's do it. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, we're not here to talk about burgers.
Wow.
Sure? Okay, so it's not burgers. It's not anything about Department of Justice and possible openings of jobs. It's not about water sales to other communities. It's not about any of that. It's about, on Monday morning, I walk into my staff meeting, and on my desk is a letter, and that's never good. Okay? So and before I start staff meeting, I take the letter in my office, and I look at it real quick. It's from my chief of police, John Doty. And
7 years chief of police.
And it's like a personal letter, and I'm like, oh, no. Like, don't do this, right? And I look at it real quick, because everybody's waiting for me in the other room, staff meeting, and I could tell John's, announcing that he doesn't want to be chief anymore. And I'm like, oh. So I'm like, listen, I'm going to act like I didn't see this. I'm going to go have a normal staff meeting. I'm going to call the chief of police into my office. Okay. So I do that. I go out there. I have a normal staff meeting. I have this ability to be able to screen things off and not let it affect me. And that obviously rocked my world. My chief of police of 7 years.
And you've got to go into a meeting.
And I got to go into a meeting and be normal. So I have this magical ability, which helps me in my job greatly. And by the way, it pisses my wife off too, right?
Magical.
I have this magical ability to be able to just you could tell me something that rocks my world. And then if I have to give a speech 2 minutes later, I could wall it off compartmentalize, I guess is the proper word, and I can go in and give a good speech, and you wouldn't even know I was
It's kind
upset.
of like being poker faced, being able to compartmentalize things, and especially as a elected official, and as a politician, and as a lawyer, you got to do that.
Right. Well, JD rocked my world,
Yeah.
Chief Doty. And, obviously I had to do a meeting. I did. And I said, hey, Chief, could you come in my office when this is over? And I don't think anybody even realized. You weren't in staff meeting this week.
I was
right?
not on Monday.
But I think I poker faced it. I don't think anybody understood there was something going on. So I call the chief into my office, and I was like, Chief, just take some time off. You don't have to do this. Come on. I don't want you to resign. You've done a great job. We need you right now. There's a lot going on in the country, a lot going on in Hammond. I just want you to know whatever you're going through right now, I'm here for you. And we'll work through this together, right? And he let me know that for personal reasons that the job's eating him up, basically. That
it's not an easy job. I would say next to yours, Mayor, it's got to be the toughest job in the city.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kev. Second toughest job in the city, outside of being mayor, okay? And, sometimes it's probably even the toughest jobs, like when we were facing off with protesters at the Dairy Bell, although I was there with them. But it's a tough job, and it's the type of job that you can't turn it off. You get phone calls at 3 a.m. if you're the chief of police. You get angry texts from the mayor at 6 a.m., right? It's the kind of job that's just it's a profession. This is your job. You get paid a lot of money, a flat salary, and basically you're expected to work 24 hours a day.
Well, and I mean, you're also a police officer. You're still also sworn to
Leader of
protect
200.
and serve. And your last two police chiefs have been on the street a lot.
Right.
JD and Brian Miller were both guys that hung out on the street.
By the way, something I'm very proud of. I've been mayor 17 years.
Yeah.
I've had 2 police chiefs. So total stability since I've been mayor in the police department.
Right.
Something I'm very proud of. Right. And quite frankly, JD is the kind of guy that could have kept going were it not for some personal issues going on in his life. Yeah. And I don't want to discuss them because he's a private person.
You've been lucky.
He's going to be even more private.
Two good chiefs.
But, being a high-profile chief of police and going through some issues that he's going through, he just didn't feel it was appropriate for him to continue on. And I couldn't talk him out of it. And I tried. So that's why we're having a press conference today at 10 o'clock because...
At the police department.
Yeah, at the police department. And even though you're going to hear from me right now who the next chief of police is going to be, it's a historical matter. And that's why we want you to show up at 10 o'clock. And there's going to be a lot of press there, I imagine, a lot of picture taking. The assistant chief of police is a gentleman named Andy Short, who I've known since I walked into City Hall, quite frankly. And quite frankly, Andy reminded me, I knew him when I was a little kid. He was an officer assigned to me one year at the festival, at the August Fest. He was working with me.
It's
and
a tough job.
I was getting ready to go. Yeah, I was getting ready to go into the military. And Andy and I got to know each other then. I forgot all about that. He must have been very junior at the time.
Hammond guy.
Yeah, Hammond guy. But basically, I want to read you Andy's bio. Andy Short was hired by the Hammond Police Department on September 26, 1988, and is a graduate of the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy.
So is that why your dad was mayor?
Yeah, he was mayor then.
Wow.
Yeah, he was mayor until 1991. Andy was promoted to first-class patrolman in 1989, second-class patrolman in 1990, corporal in 1996, sergeant in 2000, and lieutenant in 2006. During his tenure with the Hammond Police Department, he has served in the patrol division as a patrol officer, canine handler, was part of the bike patrol program, and a SWAT officer with the Hammond Police Department SWAT team. He was assigned to the Special Deployment Division, where he performed the duties of the Gang Narcotics Unit officer, and was assigned to the Drug Enforcement Administration's HIDA Task Force in Lake County. Andy Short was assigned to the Internal Affairs Division for 5 years, and in 2016, the Honorable Mayor Thomas McDermott Jr. I didn't write this.
Compadre.
I would have never written that. The Honorable Mayor Thomas McDermott Jr. appointed him as the first African-American assistant chief in the Hammond Police Department.
And there's a great picture of you and Andy.
John
found.
He's a handsome guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's super
he makes you
nice.
look good.
He's the nicest guy I've ever met.
On November 12th, 2020, Assistant Chief Short was the first African-American assistant chief of sworn Hammond police officers. Today, history is again made as Andy Short is now going to become Hammond's first African-American police chief in the city of Hammond's proud history.
It's exciting. And I'll tell you this.
It's very exciting.
It doesn't define Andy because Andy's a good cop.
It does not. I didn't want to even mention it, I'll be honest with you. It's historical, and I know Hammond's African-American community is extremely proud. I know the Ministerial Alliance is going to show up in full force. I want to point out, even though Andy's African-American, he got this because he's superbly qualified and an excellent officer. And the only reason that I was holding back a little bit is because of his residency. Mm-hmm. That's it. Andy lives in Maryville. And I think it's vitally important for the Hammond police chief to live in the city. So the only reason it wasn't announced Tuesday or Wednesday is because I wanted to make sure that, we were going to be able to fill the ranks. If Andy took over as chief, we were going to be able to fill the ranks behind him with qualified, men and women. And that's happening. I'm about to announce that next. But like, Andy got this job because he's a great police officer.
He was your assistant chief. I know you're as a military guy, you believe in the chain of command.
I do.
And Andy was next in line. And I think, and
the only knock against him, like I said, knock from the mayor was he didn't live in our city.
And he's coming back.
And he's moving in. He's committed to me. He's going to be back within the next few months, move into the city of Hammond. He's going to be a great he's going to be a great police chief. And I'm super proud that,
Well, Mayor, I know that, we've been in so many meetings where you have said that you've been proud over the last several years that your police department's become more diverse.
Yeah.
And so Andy will lead a much more diverse department than when JD took over or when Brian took over.
Right.
And I remember JD even saying, look, I'm proud of the fact that we've got more diverse. We have to do more. Mm-hmm. But as the police department was overwhelmingly white for a long time, and as those guys retire, I think you made a commitment to making sure that the police department looks like the community.
The Times already dropped the article about Andy.
They're quick.
I know. They were like waiting, huh?
Like, oh man,
that's great.
Thank you to the Times.
There was an embargo on it, and I appreciate them abiding by the terms of the embargo. I do. Like, that's cooperation because you want them to be able to do their story. This is a huge story, by the way.
It's really exciting.
It's a historical moment for Hammond, obviously, in this day and age when there's so much racial unrest in Hammond, a diverse city like our city is. Last census 10 years ago, Hammond had a 25% African American population and a 30% Hispanic population. Obviously, I think those numbers are going to change.
A little bit.
Yeah, Hammond's a very diverse city. Mm-hmm. You're going to see.
I'd say increased Hispanic, probably stable African American.
I bet you it's increased a little bit African American, and but it's stable.
Yeah. It's stable and diverse, which is cool.
Hammond was losing a lot of families when we were changing demographically in the 90s, in the 2000s. Mm-hmm. Our city changed a lot. But what you see now in Hammond is very stable.
And I think what you also see in Hammond is like less rentals and more home ownership.
That's the goal.
Which is what you've said for a long time between College Bound and just the real estate market. I think all those things have kind of dovetailed. And it's a safe community. We were just reviewing crime stats and the raw number of crimes. It's amazing the difference of when like 10 years ago versus now.
I have to announce who's going to be the assistant chief of police now.
Wow, this is news.
With Andy moving up, Andy was the assistant chief of police. So with Andy moving up to become the chief of police, I wanted to make sure. Obviously, we have a new chief, and I've already told Chief Andy and our next assistant chief of police. I wanted them to go to chief school, which is. I'm being all right. Thank you. Like seriously, I put it on my chin for a reason. So all right. So I just got knocked
Lindsay.
off. Yeah. All right,
Sorry.
Whatever.
Come on. Let's talk about the assistant chief.
Yeah.
Chief school.
Yeah. I was just totally knocked off my. Jeff Long is going to be the assistant chief of police. He was formerly the captain of patrol. Right.
And he's a Hammond guy.
He's a Hammond guy.
About residents with Jeff.
He was the assistant chief of police for a while. He went back down to captain of patrol on his own decision, and basically he's taken over as the assistant chief of police.
I forgot he was assistant.
Yeah, he was assistant, and Jeff is a specialist in the patrol division or the uniform division, and he bounced down because he felt it was necessary because of some things that were going on at the time in the patrol division, and he's a great assistant chief. He's a great patrol captain, but he did want to get back into the administration. Especially him and Andy are really good friends. They've been friends for decades, and it's funny because their names are long and short. So
we're gonna have fun with that.
The long and the short of it, yeah.
The long and the short of it.
Yeah, you got the short and the long. The short chief short and long assistant chief long.
Mayor? How do you feel just in general? Because I think one of the things that you have talked about is that you're really proud of your police department and the job they've done. Do you see this change as making, is that going to be an issue for you? Or do you believe you've got a really solid group of captains, solid leadership?
We got to keep on. So now if I'm going to take the captain of patrol, Jeff Long, and make him assistant chief of police, I have an opening at the captain spot, which is another administration spot. So I had to find another captain to take over, a new captain to take over patrol. obviously we had a lot of great people to choose from, great officers in the patrol division. Ralph Bogey being one of them. He's a great guy. He's done a great job. And, you know, the thing is, and I want Hammond residents to know this, and even if you're not a Hammond resident, I'm in charge of a police department. I think it's vitally important to have people in the police department that live in the city. And that's one of the weaknesses in my police department right now is a lot of the leaders of the police department don't live in Hammond anymore. And they have the legal right to move out. So
they can move out of the county.
They can move out of the county. And so, you know, even though they have that right, I have the right not to hire them for these administrative level positions.
And when you say that, Mayor, you mean that certain positions in the police department are at the pleasure of the mayor?
Yeah. Top 3 spots. Chief, assistant chief, and captains. And there's, I think, five or six captains,
yeah.
right? So in this case, you know, Ralph Bogey, who's great at his job. He's a lieutenant in patrol. He's done a great job. Unfortunately, Ralph doesn't live in our city. He hasn't for a long time, and I'm not trying to besmirch him at all because he's a great police officer. And there's other ways that we could take care of Ralph. We asked Ralph if he'd be willing to move back, and for family reasons, he could not. I understand that. And I want to point out that I think Ralph's a great officer, and this was not personal at all. But if I'm going to make
policy.
It's policy. It's my policy. And it's something I believe in, and I still do. And I still know I have a problem with officers that don't live in our city, and the people calling the shots in the Hammond Police Department should live in your city. That's my policy. And I've been like that since the day I walked into office. So for the opening in the captain spot, I'm going with a Hammond resident, obviously. He's a gentleman, a lieutenant in the patrol division. He's done a great job for years. It's Lieutenant Rob Bunner. He lives in Hessville. And most people around the city of Hammond know Rob because he's risen through the ranks, and he's a great guy, and he's going to become the captain of patrol effective today. He's getting pinned today as well. So, by the way, Rob moving up leaves an open lieutenant spot. Like it's like a, you know, it
well, and that's
through.
a great thing, right? Because you want your officers that don't have, you know, you want to be able to say to your younger officers, hey, there's going to be spots that open up and you can fill them. Yeah. And I think it's also interesting for those young officers, if they're going to consider moving out of the city, maybe they think twice because they know what your policy is.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't care about moving up through the ranks, if you just want to move up through seniority, that's your decision.
Absolutely.
Right? That's fine. I'm not going to...
They're still good officers.
Right. You have the right to live outside of Hammond under Indiana state law. If I was in charge of the rules, I wouldn't allow you to live outside of the city, but you do have that right, and I can't change that. That has to be changed by the governor.
And that goes for Gary or Highland or Munster or Crown Point.
That's
wherever.
right.
You can live in other counties, actually.
Right. So we do have 3 promotions we're announcing today at 10 o'clock. I'm very proud of these 3 individuals that are getting promoted. I'm very proud for our city. I think they're going to do a great job in their new roles. There will be more promotions coming shortly because Rob's vacating his spot, and there's other positions that are being moved.
It's a big day for the Hammond Police Department.
Yeah. And speaking of the Hammond Police Department, you want to go back to the FOP or?
Yeah, that was interesting. I think it kind of was
we dominated the show so far, guys, right? I mean,
how are we doing? John, are you there?
I know.
Today?
Like, we haven't really been talking to our crew today. It's been like all business.
Tell us.
What is there to say?
About the FOP issue?
Oh, man. Wow.
I don't know. Like, seriously. So we have a situation yesterday where the president of the FOP posts, I see it because I'm unfriending people yesterday, being honest with you. I'm like, anybody that justifies this crap, what's going on in D.C., I don't want to be their friends anymore. I don't want to see their stuff. I don't want to even, I'm done. So I'm going through, and quite a few of my friends were there, and they're filming, and I'm like, done. That's done. Yeah. Like, you're like storming the Capitol, and you're like posting it proud. You're not my friend, right? I fought for the country. I'm not tolerating this. So I'm unfriending people, and I get to Hammond's FOP president, and I see a post that basically says, and this is a gentleman that represents 205 Hammond police officers, right? And I see a post that says, good job, Antifa. America almost fell for your uniforms or something like that.
Yeah, costumes, I think.
Yeah, like suggesting that all the people that were looting the Capitol were lefties. They were
anarchists.
They were Antifa. They were Black Lives Matter, and they dressed up in Trump gear to throw everybody off.
Tried to frame the right.
Right, yeah. And it basically, all of our people, suggested by the FOP president, all of our people, the Trump supporters, they would never do such a thing.
Right.
So if they're the people that are looting...
Law and order president.
These are all Antifa, and they're all Black Lives Matter. And I could not freaking believe it. I'll be honest with you.
Well, I mean, it's someone in like your position, Mayor, or someone that's president of a union, you don't, even though you have a First Amendment right, you're not just always talking about for yourself. You have a microphone on behalf of your organization, and you're always going to be affiliated with that no matter what you say. Mayor, if you go on and say anything, they're going to be like, the mayor said. They're not going to say Tom McDermott said.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's similar in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
The FOP president says something.
You're right, Kevin. Exactly.
Yeah.
If I said something as mayor and it was like repeated across the country because it was so dumb what I said,
Right.
It's happened plenty of times.
Mayor
right?
Tom McDermott of Hammond, Indiana.
Right, or Hammond, Indiana's mayor said this. They
Right.
wouldn't even say my name in a lot of cases.
That's right.
If it was really dumb. They'd be like, the mayor of a city in Hammond said this, right? So the guy has to understand.
If it was really dumb.
Mike Elkman has to understand, as the leader of the Hammond FOP, he represents 205 of my officers, the officers that work for my administration. And I don't want them to think that's appropriate, making up BS reasons why the Capitol was looted, excusing it. And then I wonder, if Mike Elkman arrested me, and if I have a Black Lives Matter shirt on, do I get treated differently than if he arrests me and I have a MAGA hat on? Do I get treated better because he likes President Trump?
Well, I think that's the issue with going out in public on social media and saying stuff like that. And I think it's a good lesson. It's a good lesson. And I think, and by the way, Mike did a great job for his union when he negotiated that last contract.
He did.
And then
we were celebrating it.
Absolutely. So you don't want to take that away from him. And at the same time, he does something like this and you just scratch your head. Now,
by the way, he's done other like questionable public performances also that didn't reflect well on Hammond Police or the city of Hammond. And quite frankly, to this day, when I go to the city of Gary, I still get angry people talking about something that Mike Elkman said in the State House.
And they
a few years
associated
back.
you with it.
Absolutely associated. Like I told him to say that. I get that still. So call me a little thin-skinned when it comes to the FOP president making bad public statements. Call me thin-skinned.
Now, he did come out and apologize, Mayor.
He did.
And I think you supported that apology.
I did. In fact, because I posted a screenshot of what he said, and it took off. Like, it was like a forum of, there was fights going on. Like, people, hundreds of comments, hundreds of shares, a lot of back and forth. There was some threads, like threads within a thread, where there was like 50 people just going back and forth.
You don't see that a lot.
And I was like, oh, man, this is like a public bashing forum. Like 98% of it was against Mike Elkman.
Let's get some inside scoop, though. You didn't tell Mike to write an apology.
No,
you didn't.
No.
He did that on his own.
I haven't talked to Mike since the last time he was in City Hall.
He did that on his own.
He
You
did.
posted his apology. You said that, look, I appreciate the fact that he's going to apologize for this. It's an important. I think it's a good lesson. It's a good lesson for him. It's a good lesson just in general for the public. And those that have a microphone and those that have the ability to reach people because of their
right?
a platform. Yeah.
Right.
If you have the bully pulpit,
He does.
he's
representing 205 Hammond police officers.
you have a responsibility to sometimes take your personal opinions and not make them
And check them.
Yeah, and check. That's a good way to put it, Mayor. To check them.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's when Mike apologized on his own after he did that, and I was looking through the thread that I reposted in the morning, and it was like a bash thread. It was bad. And I felt bad for him. I know that he stepped on it. I didn't think what he said was appropriate, but it was getting really sort of carried away on the social media scene. So I was like, he apologized. Why don't I just post his apology? And I did. And then I took off the original thread. I was like, and I never do that, by the way. I'm like a believer. If I put it out, I'm going to keep it there, even if it's dumb. And I've done plenty of dumb stuff, right? And I keep it there, right? So like I removed it and I disclosed I'm removing this. It's one of the only times I've ever removed a thread. It was just over the top. Yeah. It was over the top anti, Mike. And
right. And
I didn't think that was fair.
Well, especially in an important week with the police department. I mean, you've got really positive things going on in the police deparment this week, and you're about to probably get home and shave and get in a suit and head over there.
I don't look good.
I'm suggesting that I'm guessing that you're not going to wear that outfit to
like
Andy's shorts. Well, I don't dislike
I was just
it.
gonna put a jacket
Is
on,
it appropriate for the new chief of police? I'm going with you're going to be in a tie.
A suit, yeah.
Andy deserves a tuxedo at his event.
I don't
You
know.
want me to wear a tux?
No, do not wear.
I was
going to
wear a tux
John,
to the show one day.
With like the tails.
Like a tails. I'm
going to come into the show one day in a tux.
Oh, we can't wait for
Wouldn't
that.
that be funny?
Give me a heads up. I'll show up in a ball gown.
We all show up formal
affair.
Yeah.
We'll have a little
We'd all
John
have
will have
to.
a formal
we could
event
do that
here.
for
I'm
the
down.
inauguration.
I've got
show.
Ready? We've all let's
one.
bring our tuxes in.
Yeah.
For the inauguration show.
Orchestra. John, can you get an orchestra in here?
That's funny.
For the inauguration,
Inauguration
we'll just all
day.
show up
Yeah.
in
I don't think John will
tuxes
be in
and
his
ball gowns.
tux.
Yeah.
John can wear his ball gown.
I'm not going to get
Wow,
invited.
John.
Yeah,
He looks very nice. Red is his color.
it's true.
Okay. How about Senator Young, Senator Braun? Are they culpable for what happened to the Capitol?
you know,
They're both Indiana U.S. senators.
Yeah.
Both of them carry water for the president on a regular basis.
Senator Braun especially, and he like flip-flopped and then flip-flopped again. Like he was like, Biden, I accepted Biden, then he flipped and was like, no, I'm loyal to Trump and I'm going to object. And then after the Capitol got sacked, he didn't object. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I'm not a fan of Braun at all.
I'm not a fan of Braun at all.
Yeah,
I always was like a fan of Todd Young, I'll be honest.
I respect Todd Young. I mean,
You know
he's
why?
got a military history. He's got
U.S. Naval Academy.
Yeah.
I mean, where I grew up, so to speak, in the Navy, you really learn to respect Naval Academy grads. Okay? I watch Naval Academy football games every week. I pull for them. I bet on them and usually lose. But, like, I'm a Naval Academy fan.
Sure.
I want my kids to go.
Annapolis.
Every one of my kids, I tried to get to go there. Lindsay said no.
Still got
Chase said no. Tommy said no.
I think you got a chance with Patrick.
I think I have a chance with Patrick
Patrick's,
also.
I think, into the military.
Dad tried to get me to join the Air Force.
Air Force, I'm a
little
big
different.
fan of that.
So far, you're 0 for 3. I think you
Yeah.
got a chance with Patrick.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Well, the Air Force is better with women. It really is. Like, that's why I was pushing that on you, Lens, is I'm a believer in the military. And none of my kids have taken me up on it. Obviously, it's something you got to want, right? But, yeah, so for Todd Young, going back to Todd Young, I was a fan.
Yeah.
Like, even though he's Republican, I'm a Democrat. He's been in my office.
Sure.
We've talked many times, right? But, like, the thing I know about the Naval Academy and the thing I know about being in the military is...
Your oath.
Yeah. You got to be
Your
loyal to the country, not to the president. You don't take an oath to Donald Trump.
You don't take an oath to one person. The power of the Constitution is the power flows through the people.
That's right.
Yeah.
And Todd Young is representing 6 million Hoosiers by his actions. And by his actions, all he's done is carried water for the president of the United States.
And you know,
so discontent.
You hear like what you ignore, you empower, and I think that goes to what he did. He kind of just was silent. You can't be silent. You can't be silent. You cannot be silent.
He
in
raised
times
money.
Like this.
He was the chairman of our Republican National Committee.
No, he was chairman
Republican
of the
Senate Committee.
Yeah, RSSC.
Right.
Yeah.
But, like, I tell you, I think both of them are culpable. Both of them are responsible. And I think they embarrassed our state, both of them.
I think their actions in the next, hopefully, couple weeks are going to indicate what we think. I mean, you have guys like Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, despicable, disgraceful. I think doing
Un-American.
doing what they could for pure ambition. I mean, Ted Cruz, if you got somebody who called your wife a pig and told me that and said your dad helped assassinate JFK, and you do nothing but just on your knees with this guy.
Yeah.
Just for pure ambition.
You know what? Honestly,
pure
like,
ambition.
in politics, anybody that goes after a wife is a scumbag. In fact, our new congressman in Northwest Indiana has somebody that works for him that went after my family, and I'll never forgive him for that. So when you cross the line, you know, Mr. Lopez, when you cross the line and you go after somebody's family, that's where I draw the line. It's like I will never forgive you. And I know that when the president went after Senator Cruz's family, he should never be forgiven, much less Cruz is out there carrying water for him. It just shows what kind of person you are.
Well, it shows that Ted Cruz cares about one thing. He cares about his own ambition. That's it.
But when you go after somebody's family, you're a scumbag. You really are. It's about politics. It's about policy. It's about winning. And when you go after somebody's family and try to ruin their family, you're a scumbag. And it happens. That for me is the line. When I see somebody so desperate to maintain that they're willing to lie and they're willing to make stuff up and try to screw up people's families, that's where you draw the line.
It was something, and I think guys like Josh Hawley. I mean, I'm hoping that because of, to me, what they did is just because of pure ambition, and they think if I can get this base behind me, I can be president in 4 years.
Right.
I hope that instead that their actions on the 6th of January define them politically, and I hope it haunts them. I really do, because I don't think their actions were American, in my opinion, my personal opinion, of course. I did hear that Mike Pence unfollowed Trump on Twitter, and then
that is so stupid.
Aiden told me this, and he said one of the funniest comments was, "The teenage girls are fighting."
The girls are fighting.
It's what Trump did to Pence is
he threw him under the bus.
Ridiculous, but it just I don't think anybody would say anything but Vice President Pence was extremely loyal to the president. Extremely loyal.
No doubt about it.
And the actions of the president towards Vice President Pence just show you what Trump is all about.
Yeah. It's like an abusive relationship.
It just shows you what he's like. He will throw anyone under the bus. Anyone.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. He ruined his family. He ruined his family's name, his business, and he ruined Don Jr.'s any chance Don Jr. had of running for higher office. Ivanka Trump. Can you imagine being that family? and you're like going to live a normal life in 2 weeks.
What I want to know what he's going to do. Is he going to try and take his base and continually have rallies after he's not president? I want to, it was teleprompter Trump yesterday. Anybody who says like, oh, he conceded, he did. That was obviously teleprompter Trump. What's he going to do when he's back on Twitter, when he's out of the White House? Give him 2 weeks, give him 3 weeks, give him 4 weeks.
Yeah, but
that's what I want to see what happens.
So much following.
I would hope so.
John, we haven't even talked to John at all today.
John's been quiet. He's let us rant. Thank you, John.
I honestly, I have pages of notes for today. No, I do. I was up late last night.
We're about to wrap up.
A lot of thought. No, this is what I'm saying. I mean, what can you say? You guys have framed the whole thing where, and I don't mean this in a bad way because people's reactions are their reactions, but how can you have a conversation? Really? I mean, but to me, when I saw Trump's video last night, so I had all these notes before Trump's concession speech, which is essentially what it was. And then my dad sent me an article from Ann Coulter, and say what you will about her, but she's given up on Trump a long time ago, too.
Yep.
Has she? I heard her.
Oh, yeah.
No, she has.
And I'm not a fan of Ann Coulter, but I agree with you, John.
She summed up
because he went after her, remember?
Yes. She summed up exactly what I was thinking after I watched Trump's concession speech. This is what we get after 4 years. That speech, this is what we get. Tens of millions have been ridiculed for 4 years supporting this guy. And what does he do at the end of the day? The ultimate disloyalty. Everybody who voted for him, we've exhausted all measures. Now I'm going to go fly off to Camp David.
Or to Scotland.
That's
a good point, John. That's a good point. Well, and it goes to kind of what we just talked about with Pence. The people have backed him and been loyal to him, and that's what they got.
Exactly.
It's interesting.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But I think, we could have this conversation. The show's almost over, and maybe we do it next time, but I think it's a lot more complicated than this black and white stuff going on. But I think in politics it tends to go that way, right?
For sure.
Black or white.
Well, at least initially, right? And then all the gray comes in after there's some analysis.
Like, you guys were talking about how the woman that was shot, Ashley, I think her name was, she was a veteran.
Yeah.
Sure.
4 tours.
Yeah.
Why did she feel this was her only option?
Agreed.
That's what I'm asking myself.
Unless she really believed what she's hearing, that the election's being stolen and it's undemocratic. And
this was the way to do it, is go storm the Capitol. But you're right, John. Why do people think this was their option?
I'm not going to speak for this woman who was shot by Capitol Police, but she probably believed with all her heart she loved this country.
Yeah.
Right.
I think,
So,
but the question is, how did she get to that point where you love it so much that you believe, I don't know if it's
this
social
is the
media,
only way.
Right, this is the only way, right.
I will tell you this, I don't believe it was solely Trump's admittedly inflammatory words. He is inflammatory. But this has been building for years.
Sure, and there's a lot of, I would give you this, there's alt-right there, big time. The really bad parts of that right-wing. And I don't want to affiliate them with the Republican Party either. But, these people that have been empowered, I think, by Trump thinking that they have some sort of power, or that he's telling them, go ahead, Proud Boys, or go ahead, these folks that are just very vehemently, I would call them just anti-American. I'm not going to associate them with any party. And they were there. We know they were there. So,
Kevin, you texted me when all this was going on, and you were like, please tell me you're not supporting this insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I told you, I can't help but feel this is a huge opportunity for a call for peace.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. We were talking about this yesterday. I'm hopeful that this is the start of some healing.
All I could think when we all saw the video, we saw it happening. All I could think was enough, enough now. If this doesn't wake us up and realize politics has made us crazy, everyone's at a tipping point.
Social media,
social media is a huge problem. But
it is a huge problem. It is a huge problem. Social media, like yesterday with Elkman. That kind of stuff is driving us apart, and that's part of where I was coming from. Is we got to stop throwing gas on the fire. We got to start backing off, and it's our job. Yeah, it's our job as city administration. It's our job as police officers and firefighters, and to set the example, not to throw more gas.
And as Democrats and Republicans, it's our job to start governing again and doing it based on what's best for the American people.
We have to. This circular escalation, and Kevin, I was in one of my texts, I was this seems this is crazy in a normal world.
Right.
But I'll be honest with you. When January 6th came, I had a feeling they were breaching those gates and they were getting the Capitol.
Well, that's what people said. Shocked, not surprised. I heard that all over the place, right?
But like they were surprised in the Capitol. The Capitol Police was
they weren't
totally
ready. Well, we're going to find out what happened
woefully
there.
unprepared.
We're going to find out what happened there because it just doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
You know, there's more to that, I think.
Well, I saw a video. This is from like CBS News where the Capitol Police eventually opened one of the gates and kind of stand down.
Yeah. What does that tell you? That's how they felt like we're going to get overrun.
Yeah.
We're going to get run down here.
What do you do?
They weren't
at
even
that
in
point?
riot gear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find out more about that. Mayor, you got a big day ahead of you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a crazy day. It's been a crazy week. It's time for us all to start pulling together and healing and remember what's important. And we're all Americans, and, we're trying to do the right thing. All of us, even if you're Democrat or Republican, everybody's trying to do the right thing, I imagine. And there's a few instigators, but for the most part, most of the people I know in politics are trying to do the right thing, Republicans and Democrats.
Totally agree, Tom.
It's the truth. I mean, most of the people I meet believe strongly in what they're doing, and they want the best for Indiana or for Hammond or for America. And we just see things differently, but we're trying to do the same thing.
But the incitement and the fueling the fire and all that has to stop.
It's like yelling fire in a crowded theater. Yeah. It's illegal, and we got to come to grips with social media. And there's some things that people are putting out that are just causing problems,
Yeah. Biden has such an uphill battle with the unity of this country. And I honestly, I hope he can pull it off. But, I mean, this is tough right now. I mean, just look at what happened.
Well, I think it's going to take the leadership in the Republican leadership in the House and Senate to basically. And the good thing is Biden's he was a senator for years and years, and so hopefully he can between Mitch McConnell and the folks on the Republican side in the Senate. I think they can make a really big difference in trying to get to that point.
Yeah. Hope so.
Yep.
Anyway, we have a big day coming in the Hammond Police Department. We're announcing a new chief of police, Andy Short, Hammond's first African-American chief in the history of the city. We're announcing Jeff Long, formerly captain of patrol, becoming the assistant chief of police. And we're announcing Rob Bunner, formerly a lieutenant in the patrol division, becoming the new captain of patrol. That's happening at 10 o'clock in City Hall. I know there's going to be...
City Hall or PD?
Excuse me, I'm sorry. At the Hammond Police Department. Yep. I know there's... Thank you for correcting me. I know there's going to be a lot of media there. A lot of pictures.
Wear your mask, social distance.
Yeah, and I know the Ministerial Alliance is super excited, just like Hammond, just like I am. I think this is a great day for our city. I think Chief Short's going to do a great job. And I think, again, another thing that we're going to do is honor the outgoing police chief, John Doty. We're going to honor him.
Exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah.
And you're all going to get to show up and see if Mayor changes into a suit.
I am going to change into a suit, and I'm going to shave. And I want to thank everybody who worked so hard to make our podcast great. And I want to remind everybody that's listening, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify as well. If you listen to Spotify, you can subscribe to us.
Search Left of Center.
Left of Center's podcast. A lot of you watch on Facebook. We appreciate that. But you can watch on Facebook, subscribe there, and you can subscribe on YouTube and Spotify and stuff like that.
Help us. Please do.
Give us thumbs up. Give us thumbs down. Give us comments.
Give us 1 star. Give us 5 stars.
That's right.
Just rate us.
To Lindsay McDermott, our co-host, thank you very much, Lynn. To John Vesma, our producer, you're the best. You're one of my favorite Republicans.
You called me a co-host.
Yeah.
Wow.
Are you? What
You've been promoted. You know what that means? A pay raise.
0 to 0?
Nothing
Yes.
from nothing leaves nothing.
That should be our fade out song, John.
That's right. Kevin Smith doing a great job as my co-host also. Kyle the intern.
We haven't even talked about Kyle.
Still haven't even fixed the studio.
Come on, Kyle the intern.
God damn it, Kyle.
We gotta get Kyle on.
Ding.
Yeah, we gotta get Kyle on swinging that hammer. I know he comes from a family that's very skilled in that area. So
we had a long conversation this week, Kyle and I, and I'm excited to see.
Was it a browbeating, John?
Is he going to start putting? One of the things Kyle the intern is going to do for us is put out clips of the show so that we could use it for promotions. Like if we want to do a commercial for one of our sponsors, we could just do a clip on the commercial, or
Yeah, he's going to start doing that. Matter of fact, there is some chatter of a second YouTube channel that's just Lockpod clips.
Nice.
Our most exciting.
I feel like we've made it.
Yeah, man.
Why would we do that on a separate channel?
2?
Why don't we just drive people to the same channel?
Like England has like 2 channels. It's like BBC 2.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow.
What do I know?
Just this industry.
I'm
man.
just
exciting.
I'm just the pretty face.
You're the locomotive, remember?
I am.
Oh, now you're not the locomotive. You're just a pretty face.
I am a pretty face. Yeah. I'm down. I don't know if people notice. I've had a weird week, and I just
Well, it's been
I didn't really
one
feel
of those weeks.
It's one of the more challenging weeks I've had as mayor, for sure. A lot of big issues came across.
Well,
my
I'm
plate.
happy that you've got a kind of a fun morning for you. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for everybody for listening to Lock Pod. We'll see you on Tuesday. We'll be back at 7:30 a.m. Don't forget to like, rate, subscribe, give us good algorithms.
Have a
Take
good
care.
weekend.
Good night, Brussels.